Hello, hello, and welcome back to another great episode of You Are the Masterpiece. And it's been a while since my last live episode, so I'm so happy and thrilled with our guest, Dawn. And before we introduce Dawn, I just wanted to say a couple of words for somebody who is tuning in for the first time. Hello, hello. This is the podcast about you and what do you want from your life. Because remember, we do not have to be perfect as long as we are taking the effort, and we can be the work in progress, the same as the masterpiece in the same time. So if you're tuning in, you are definitely the masterpiece and you are in the right time, in the right place. And hello, my name is Irina Portnova. I am all about manifestation and how can we consciously create the life that really sparkles us, the life that really has that zest of aliveness in us. And that's exactly why I'm bringing all these wonderful guests. And I'm here today in the studio with Dawn Ranieri. Dawn, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here with you today.
Yay! And I'm excited as well. And can you just share a couple of words? What are you doing in this world?
What am I doing? Well, so I am a future self coach, and I work with energy and frequency as well as sound, which we'll be talking about today. And my biggest mission is to really just waken people up to truly realize who they are, what their power is, and just get to the root causes of what may be holding them back so that they can live their healthiest, happiest, best life. Pretty much short and sweet.
I love that. And we were just talking behind the scene before we come in live, like saying, if more people realize there is so much power and potential inside of each one of us, we are not bound to our bank account or age or the education or relationship. We can actually create anything. It's just like mind blowing. And the more people understand and the more people are eager to learn and connect with what is something that really sets their heart on fire, that's exactly what's the point of life is, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely. Yeah,
totally.
we're the creators of our universe. And, when
Mm-hmm.
we really truly understand that and everything's um, infinite,
Mm-hmm.
we can do whatever we like.
And we stopped like terrorized by sentences, whether the doctors are telling us or our life is running for us, whether this is in money, in relationship, in health, in any other field. Like we understand that we can actually turn things around and we can co-create with the powers, with the higher source.
Absolutely.
All right, and today we are talking about the symphony of the soul, and I'm super excited to learn more myself because that's why I love, because it's not only the listeners are learning, but also I am also learning with every expert who comes to spend this beautiful time with me. So let's just start from the basic. What is sound healing?
So, in my word, sound healing, I would say, is this beautiful practice where we are using vibration and frequency to go into the body. And what's really wonderful about it is it impacts the mind, body, and the soul.
Mhm.
So, we're talking about the symphony. This is always
Mhm.
a hard word for me. Um, so we are this energetic blueprint, and when we are whole, we actually play our own symphony. And it's when we start to have that stress or anxiety, or maybe our health starts to fall apart. It's kind of like those notes start to go off tune. Maybe they go missing, or maybe they're suppressed, by those emotions. So this is where sound healing is so great, because it works with different tones. And I have earphones on, so I don't know if this will work, but
Mhm.
like a sound bowl
Mhm.
is going
Oh
to
my
have
God.
a different sound. This is the crown chakra, or sounds like a tuning fork. You probably won't hear this one. This is more for the bioenergetic field. They're just two ideas of different types of sound, but each of these have their own frequency, and it interacts with our body and our energetic field to kind of replace the note that maybe is missing or off tune, and work to get it back in balance is kind of the short.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And yes, I love that because you know what? I love to tune into frequency music. Whether this is, there are different, like we are all vibrational beings, right?
Yeah.
Understanding a little bit about the basics that we are all made out of energy and we are pure energy, and our energy is always vibrating. And the vibration rate is something that determines one frequency to another frequency. And I love these frequency healing music. For instance, there is a frequency if you have a headache, a frequency when your stomach has an ache, right?
Yes.
Or even the frequency that you connect with abundance, with the luck, with success, whatever it is, right? And it's all on a different frequency. So I love to listen sometimes to this kind of music.
Hmm.
And tell a little bit more, Summer, because Dawn, because sorry, Dawn, because
It's
it's
my
like,
nickname, so it's okay.
yes, Summer Dawn. So tell a little bit more. How exactly does it work? Just take us through the session and what exactly is happening. Let's say if somebody decides to explore that.
Yeah, so normally what I do, I've only been working with the sound aspect of my business for about a year. Um, so I do a lot of workshops. So I have another friend, Juliet. Me and her will do, like, she'll do the yoga aspects, and I will do the sound bowls. And I have the crystal chakra bowls. So I really like to work on the chakras, and be able to clear all of them. So a lot of times a session for me is just having someone lay down, and a lot of times I'll start with the root chakra, and each of those frequencies are going to start to work within that energy field within their body to start to release, any blocks, any emotions, especially. And I know from my first experience actually having, like, getting my own sound healing done, I was actually triggered by some of the sounds,
Mm.
because we know that triggers are gifts, right? No matter if it's from a person, a situation, it's a gift that our body's saying, oh, this is an opportunity to get that emotion out that you keep suppressing. Well, it's the same thing sometimes with the bowls, where a lot of times if you're triggered a little bit, it's your body and that vibration, like trying to move that emotion up and out.
Mhm.
um, so some people will experience that, and but what's nice is they're laying there, usually for at least about a half hour, the ones that I do.
Mhm.
They're experiencing that. They're either laying down or they're in a yoga pose, but they're experiencing either getting this emotion out. Um, they're present in this moment, and they're receiving these frequencies that especially will, like we said before, it's going to reconnect with maybe a frequency that's no longer there. So it helps to bring that body back into balance. Um,
Mhm.
Sometimes just for people, it could just be, it sounds beautiful, and they're just in this space of bliss, and they're
Yes.
just listening to it. It's finally a time to relax, and I know we'll probably talk about the benefits, so I can go a little bit more into that.
Mhm.
But it's just this amazing immersion into these beautiful sounds, helping your body to get back to that frequency of where it should be for you, especially, helping to release those emotions, get you into rest and digest, and just to be present and be aware. This
Mhm.
helps so much with, like, creating, and just being able to finally relax and focus on, being able to bring in that creativity when you're receiving one of these sound baths.
I love that, as you are sharing what comes to my mind. We also had like a local center here,
Hmm.
and I once attended the yoga class, and they were doing also the sound healing with the bowls. And it's amazing experience, just, when you are completely relaxed, laying down, and they're just playing the bowls, and it's just like these sounds. And what comes to me is like that tranquil state where you completely disconnected from the noise of this world,
Yes.
and you're totally in tune with yourself, with your body sensations. And this is like such a beautiful experience.
Yeah, it really is.
So let me ask you, what actually made you decide to like really start doing these sound healing workshops and classes? What was something that maybe defining moment or the realization?
Well, it was interesting because I actually got certified, I'm going to say 2 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, because I was always interested. I played not professionally, but I liked the keyboards. I knew voice had such a powerful frequency. And I started to get really attracted to the bowls and the tuning forks. But I think at the time, I wasn't being cold fully. And like the prices at the time too are a little bit like, I think I was still like in my like, well, do I really want to afford this if I'm not
Mhm.
100% in? So last year around this time, me and my boyfriend were actually in a quaint little town not far from us, and we were staying there for dinner. And we walked into this place thinking they would have crystals because I'm all about
Mhm.
crystals. And she's like, "Oh no, we do the sound baths, and oh, you should come back after dinner. We're gonna have one." It was more Halloween based and really celebrating those who have passed on.
Mhm.
So we're like, "All right, let's do it." I've always wanted to get one. And so for me, this is where a couple of the chakras, and I don't remember which ones, I had this triggering experience, but I still was like, "This is really phenomenal." How I felt, and
Mhm.
my boyfriend was like, "Wow, that was incredible. Wasn't that something that you were working on, trying to do?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I got the certifications. I just don't have the bowls, and I wasn't sure, if I would be ready." He's like, "Well, if we got the bowls, could you see yourself setting up workshops or whatever, adding this to your practice?" And I was like, yeah. Like I
Mhm.
think I needed that experience for myself to finally
Right.
realize that. And so I started connecting with my friend Juliet and a couple other people, and Radiant Heart, which is a yoga studio down from us. And I started putting things together for this year, the beginning of this year, before I even had the bowls.
Mhm.
So I started to manifest because I was just like, yeah, let's do this. Started putting that out there. Was able to find the bowls for a really good price. Beautiful bowls. They're awesome. I love them.
Mhm.
And I started making all these connections. And it was like November. And I'm like, January, February, March, I already had things set up to go. So that was my experience.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about chakras and these energetic centers because some people might not understand exactly. And why is it important to have everything in balance?
Yes, so the chakras are energy centers in our body. Now, they're not all in our body. I think there's 114. I think there's more than what we really know about. But
Mhm.
the seven chakras in our body, when they're off balance, they can start to create imbalances even in the other chakras and in our lives. So, we've got our root chakra, which is our security and safety, which is pretty much a big one, I think, for most people, right?
Mhm.
Um, we've got our sacral, which is more our sexuality, our emotions. We've got um, our solar plexus, which is our confidence and our power. So a lot of times, if one of these are off, most of the time, I really believe the three of them are off. So
Mhm.
I really love to work on these first to then get to the heart, which is, all about love, self-love, forgiveness, compassion, all of that. And it's the bridge between, the first three and the higher ones, which are then
Mhm.
our throat, speaking our truth, being able to talk and communicate with others. Our third eye, which is our intuition, which is what we should be using
Right.
over our other senses, and our crown chakra, which is at our head, which is really that connection to source, that higher self. So I do a lot of other types of frequency work, and where I can actually scan somebody, and depending on what the intention that we're working on, my device will actually give me the three lowest chakras that are based on what's going on, with why that person can't have that ideal thing that they want because there's blockages going on in those areas. So
Mhm.
it's really important to clear these because these blockages also can, if they're gone undone, because they're also the reasons that they start out as our beliefs, our limitations, our fears, traumas, and they start to create those blocks. But then if we leave them undone and we don't work on them, what happens is we start to physically become unwell. They start to
Mhm.
cause illness and disease.
Mhm.
So this is one of my favorite ways of clearing those chakras, is through the sounds, because each
Mhm.
of the sound bowls that are specifically for the note of the chakras for each specific one will help to start to vibrate and get that chakra turning in the right direction, which should be clockwise in our bodies. Um,
Mhm.
Trying to think if there's anything else you want to know about.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like how many sessions on average, from your experience, would person need in order to clear their chakras?
That is a very good question, and I really think it depends on the person.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, a lot of times too, because some of this may be so subconscious, it's
Mhm.
it's things like this, or like the device I use, like that's going to help because it's just frequency. Because a lot of times we don't really
Mhm.
know. Our subconscious runs the show a lot of the time. So um, it's hard to really tell how many times. But if it's more a conscious issue that's going on, it could be one time. It
Mhm.
could be two or three. It really depends on what the situation is and if that person understands what the situation is and how to work on it. Um, for me, I just do workshops, so I really don't use the bowls per se, in an ongoing sessions, but I do use other frequency stuff that works with the chakras where a lot of times it is only one time because we are working so deep in the subconscious and the conscious where sometimes one time can knock it out. Sometimes it will take two or three sessions.
I love that. And how about, do people still do that therapy just like for the maintenance afterwards?
They can. I mean, I think what I like to really try to do is, again, it's just like really working on what the cause is and
Mhm.
always giving clients like tools that they can use because I'm all about empowerment.
Mhm.
I mean, I love seeing people, but I'd rather not have people always coming back to me because I want them to understand what their power is and that power resides in them. It's not from me. I'm just a guide for them. So when we can give them certain tools, no matter if it's, hey, use a sound bowl if you have it, or a tuning fork, or, maybe it's just tapping or doing
Mhm.
a meditation. When we can give them these tools, if something else comes up for them, even if it's a totally different situation, they're able to be like, "Oh, I have these tools," or they
Mhm.
understand more of how their intuition and their imagination is really their creation. And when they start to use a lot more of that, they know their own power and they're able to work through that themselves. And that actually brings me more joy than someone saying, "Hey, I need to see again because I'm stuck."
I love that. So let's talk about how does sound actually connect us to our true self, right? Because we are talking about energy, frequency, and how it's all connected with our true self. So how does sound actually help us to connect?
Well, because we know our true self is our soul. And
Mhm.
what's great about sound is, well, we know everything's energy, right? So everything's energy, everything vibrates, everything is frequency.
Mhm.
So even our soul is always whole and it's always at that frequency of love, right? This is where we
Mhm.
really do our creation. Um, but with sound healing, when we are either relaxed laying down, if we're doing a meditation pose, it brings us back into rest and digest. We're getting into that parasympathetic area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're not anymore in fight or flight. So right there, it's bringing us back into hopefully a place of neutrality where we are really working on that soul aspect of us, as well as our whole body too. Um, but to really get to that higher being, we've got to be into the rest and digest. So one of the great benefits of sound healing is being able to calm the nervous system. For most people, we're probably in fight or flight 80% of the time, where it should be the opposite and being rested digest 80% of the time. So
Mm-hmm.
sound is one of those things, and even music, like listening to solfeggio or some of these other things that we can find just even on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, can really help you get to that place and just calm you, get you present, because that's another benefit. It helps you get present and
Totally.
get you into awareness. Um, it also helps with the emotions, and we touched on that a little bit as well. It helps to vibrate those suppressed emotions out, so it starts to lift them out of you. And when you're more present and you're more aware and you're calm, you can sit with those emotions more without having that fear, which
Mm-hmm.
then also helps it to lift out. So this is why sound is just so beneficial. Um, and it can also help us sleep more. So if we're not getting enough sleep, then our brain doesn't get a chance to detox.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's going to benefit us, because then again, we can't really connect with that higher version of us, because our days are going to be foggy and not a lot of clarity. Um, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else that, but I think for the most part, like when when we have these workshops, and especially the last two, we had a full moon and a new moon, which was just they were just beyond amazing. I was in bliss myself for like days afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But
Totally.
just seeing how people come out of that. I mean, I had one friend that was here for one of them for the full moon, and she's like, "I don't even know if I'm going to make it. I just don't feel good." I'm like, "Please come. I'm telling
Mm-hmm.
you, if you can make it here, you are going to feel better
Mm-hmm.
after you leave." And she did. So it just you just get into that state of just calm and awareness, and it just helps just relieve you of what's going on in your body that doesn't belong. And it's just incredible what these notes, these frequencies can do to get you back in balance, as that
Mm-hmm.
mind, the body, and the soul. It just brings that whole tire, that human being, back into balance altogether.
I love that. So if every person don't has a unique frequency, how can we learn to tune ourselves back into the harmony?
I think one of the best ways is meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation, and it doesn't have to be long, but or visualization, just getting
Mm-hmm.
into a place where you can bring yourself to, for me, it's like the beach, so a lot of times when I visualize, I'm bringing myself to the beach, place where I feel like is really great with the water, which is really great for
Mm-hmm.
manifestation. But find a space where it brings you into that calm center, because when you're able to get there, then it opens you up to who you really are. And I really think it starts from there. And it can be hard because some people are like, well, I can't meditate. I can't sit there because I have all of these thoughts popping in my head all the time. And I'm like, I tell them that's okay. We're human, right? We're going to have thoughts. But where you have the power is when you can
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, I have a thought. You know what? I'm going to stop it right there. I'm not going to follow that story. I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to go back to my breath, or I'm going to go back to doing a body scan, or I'm going to go back to like staring at a candle, whatever it is. That makes you powerful, and that helps you to be able to do that longer, to be able to be in that space. Um, and if you do have sounding bowls or you are listening to music, it's the same thing. Lay down or just sit there with your eyes closed and just take in these frequencies and just be present. I think the problem, in the world anymore is that We're so busy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's tech anymore. So, we want things fast. And we think that everything revolves around go, go, go. And I was one of those people. And all that did was make me frustrated, though, and it got me nowhere. And it wasn't until being able to be present
Mm-hmm.
that
Yes.
all the ideas come through, right? Because we're using our right brain. We're actually using that creativity finally. And people don't
Mm-hmm.
understand, well, I'm taking time away when I do that. No, you're not. That's when your real creativity is coming through and giving you the real things that you should be focusing on in the day, not rushing through. So, yeah, meditation, visualization, music, sound, like sound healing, even taking walks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could still get to a beach or get up to the mountains, wherever that space is, in nature is just one of the most incredible, incredible ways to just kind of get back into a being, that
Mm-hmm. I love
blissful
that.
present person you are. So yeah.
I love that. So, what would you suggest as the first step for somebody who might be curious about sound healing? What would you suggest for them to do?
So I do things differently. So I'm like trying how to say this. We all look at all this self help ways of doing things, like these books and a lot of these like rah workshops and things like that, which can be great. But the thing is, they don't last long because they're only really working on our five senses and they're not working on that soul aspect of who you are, which is the most important aspect. Um, so it's it's finding somebody like us that hopefully can guide you, because then again, it's not listening to our every word and taking in what we say, right? It's what resonates with you, that feels right, that you're going to bring inside. And
Mm-hmm.
because it's great to learn, but half the time when we learn, we just take stuff in and then it's kind of like we put it on a bookshelf for
Mm-hmm.
whenever. We don't embody it, we don't live it.
Totally.
So it's finding that way, regardless if it's, somebody you resonate with. If it is a book or it is one of these webinars, make sure when you go to it, you take that stuff back with you and you live what you learned.
Mm-hmm.
Not put away until like 2 years later, until you like, oh, you know what? I learned that, because people will say that. I think I've learned that before. Well, big deal. Are you living
Mm-hmm.
it? Are you embodying that? And especially if it's something that felt really good to you, that really touched your soul, that is something that you need to do. So everybody's going to be different, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, if you feel something come through you and you're just like, I'm ready for change, I feel it. I don't know what it is, but I know I have to do something. Don't go
Mm-hmm.
to your analytical brain and start
Totally.
work on it. Go with it. No matter if it's like, oh, I feel like I have to reach out to this person, or I feel like I have to read this book. If you feel it here in your heart, then that should be your first step. When you start saying, oh, well, you know what, maybe that's not the right way, because that's going to cost money, or I just don't have time right now. You've already taken yourself out of what that was really for you. So tap into what feels right to you and what's going to be the best way for you to kind of work on whatever that is, no matter if it's a
Right.
guide, if it's a book, whatever, but just make sure that you live it once you learn it.
I love that. And the last question is, I love the conversation and thanks so much for all your shares. What does you are the masterpiece mean to you?
Kind of what we've been talking about. I believe that we are this beautiful, infinite soul within this body. And that when we really focus on that part of us, which is even more important, I believe, than the body, right? Because that's the part of creation. This is the part where um, we're able to manifest from. So when we can really understand who we are as a whole, and especially that we are this beautiful infinite soul within this body that is able to create anything and we're infinite and we already have everything we need inside us, that makes us the master.
Yep, absolutely. I love it. Well, thanks so much, Dawn, for coming in, for showing up today, for sharing. And I was just like really connecting with that frequency that you were here. And it's beautiful. And again, for anybody, just check out the links to connect with Dawn if you want to learn more of what she's doing. And thanks so much for coming in. Have a
Thank you so
beautiful,
much.
beautiful day. And everyone, see you on the next episode.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.